لا ما بشرب نسكافيه. انت جوعانة ميتي شوي. يلا نطلبيها قبل ما تجي، بس لا تجي نطلب نسكافيه بكون شكرا. رجعي؟
Hello, I think we can start. We are recording the session. Maybe Marie, you start.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Fine.
Good. So we'll start right away, right on time. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session of the World Conservation Congress. We are pleased to present you our session, Thinking Rangelands as Climate, debates on rangeland socio-ecosystems and alternatives for development. So rangelands are a set of social ecosystems which are essential for humanity, especially in terms of water cycle, erosion reduction, biodiversity, and carbon sequestration. But they are facing the expansion of human activity, largely agricultural, leading to the irreversible destruction of natural ecosystems for the implementation of intensive and unsustainable agricultural systems. So today we'll have 11 short presentations on case studies from all over the world. We will all have 5 minutes to present it, and then we'll have a small gathering at the end, and we'll think together about some alternatives for the future. The first 3 presentations will be about Brazilian cases. So maybe we can start now. I will actually present the case of the Marajó Island, which is populated by more buffaloes than human actually. So I'll show its relationship with range. I will now try to share my screen. Let's see. Let's see if I can. Okay, I think I'll do it this way. Can you see the full screen now?
Yes.
Good. So this study was made by Mariana, Vogg, Jean-François-Tourrand, and myself. I'll start with a brief presentation of the Marajó Island, its rangelands, and the issues linked to it. So the Marajó Island is located in the Pará state in Brazil, and it is part of the Amazonian biome, and it is at the mouth of the Amazon River. It is located near Belém, which is the capital of Pará. The Marajó Island is the main part of the Marajó archipelago, also called Marajó region. The main island itself is twice the size of Belgium, and it represents 8% of the state of Pará and 1% of Brazil. The region is approximately the size of Portugal or South Korea, to give you an idea. And Marajó has about 400,000 inhabitants located in 16 counties, and 56% of its population lives in the rural area. The archipelago is divided in 2 parts: the forest that makes up for 2/3 of the region, you can see on the green on the map, and the rangeland, the last third at the eastern part that you can see is red on the map. So the livestock activities there started in the 16th century with just a few animals on the farm, but it is only in the 19th century that buffaloes were introduced in the island. They adapted very well to its environment because they have the ability to live and swim on clouded land, and they are also able to valorize fodders of low quality. Zebras were introduced in the 20th century, as well as pasture improvements with cultivated fodder. So the production is very extensive with a low productivity rate, and small producers represent 87% of the farms, but with only 10% of the land. And the meat and cheese produced there are mainly sold in Belém, the capital country. So now, concerning the challenges of livestock ranching, as you saw on the picture, Marajó is on the water and is quite flat. So what you have is a fragile lowland ecosystem due to stagnant water with no drainage. So this results in residue pollution, animal parasitism, and cropping constraints, obviously. But during the summer, the water is scarce, and this may result in animal losses. The lack of pasture management leads to serious pasture degradation as well. And in order to stop this degradation, the investment in pasture management are very high. So that's why until now, the only recuperation method is to implement cultivated pasture, which destroys the natural rangeland. So there is the main point of the problem. In family farming, the situation is similar, but you also had the land access issue, common land management problems, and the lack of policy. In addition to that, small producers find low public support due to the lack of land status and a weak awareness for capacity building in sustainable agriculture, food processing, and also social organization. So it is very common to see short cycles of slash and burn agriculture, and also the use of chemicals. So we are actually facing a dilemma between the destruction of rangeland in the name of local development and rangeland's conservation, including actions to improve its competitiveness. So in the case of Marajó here, we see two main points. And the progressive and problematic degradation of rangeland due to the low productivity of the current land use, with a loss in biodiversity and pollution as well. We are witnessing a strong economic and social gap between fazenderos, the big farmers, and the small producers. The second point is the development of intensive agriculture supported by public policies. But with the possible economic developments comes the worsening of social and economic gaps between the stakeholders, as well as a more serious environmental impact. So we are actually looking for an alternative based on rangeland policies. So this will be my concluding remark. An adequate rangeland public and or private policy could lead to an appropriate land access for the landless and the small producers, with technical and financial support to encourage rangeland management and capacity building in sustainable agriculture and social issues. The last point is about the need of social public policies as well. Currently, and this was very visible in the interviews we conducted, the island lacks infrastructures in various sectors, such as public health, education, access to clean water, energy, local transport, communication, and also the accommodation of tourists. And this concludes my 5 minutes, so I will stop here. And maybe if you have some question, Mariana and I will be available at the end of all the presentations. So I will stop the sharing of my screen now. And we can follow with the second presentation. Is Vicente Silveira present here? Vicente?
All right. Hello. Good morning from Brazil for everyone. And okay, I tried to put here the presentation. Here. Here. It's okay?
Perfect.
All right. Okay, I try to talk about the case of Mariana Foundation, okay, and then in the case of here, I try to put this in the other windows, but okay. Normally use meeting is easy for me. Okay, Adriana is agronomist at the Mariana Foundation, and I'm professor here in the University of Santa Maria, okay? Okay, the Mariana Foundation is a non-profit, non-governmental organization, is instituted in 1983 about the testament for the two brothers who visit New Zealand before that, and then is in testament is the main thing was create a foundation similar to Massey University. Okay, is logically not possible to do this type of things. And then is today Mariana Foundation work with the different universities from the south of Brazil and also the other companies and like Extension Emater, Extension offshore extension, and the other things. Okay, this is in the municipal in Alegrete, municipality of Alegrete in the state of Rio Grande do Sul. Mariana has two properties, two rural properties. One is the center of validation in technologies in CVT Capivari, and then another is Distância do 28. Both, just the main sources of for the foundation come from these two properties. Today is talk about Estância do 28. Estância do 28 is 60 kilometers south of Alegrete, and is located in Rincão do 28 region. And because of the Estância do 28, the name comes from the Rincão. It is inside of the environmental area, the Ibirapuitã environmental area, and the property has 2,381 hectares. And the main economic activity there is beef cattle, and use the natural pasture with the main support, food support, for the cattle. Has different types of soil, basically basalt and the sand, okay, and then the productivity inside of the farming is quite different, depends of the paddocks. But today's talk more about the regions around this Distância do 28, because there has the Rincão do 28 community is small farms, in Brazil, the name is officially is recognized now with the family farmers. The main productive activities also is beef cattle, and some farms has sheep as well. And they also produce small subsistence agriculture for them. The main activity is also is the animal production, in native pasture. But because of in this region, subtropical region, is the production of the pasture production is quite different along of the year. But the farmers normally maintain the major pressures of the same stock rate, and then is not adjust the seasonality of the production, and then sometimes of the year has a high high stock rate to support the natural past support, and then this has problems, a lot of problems, mainly environmental problems. But when we consider this type of the management of the ecosystem, it's impossible to ignore the people living there, And then the actions for this type of the approach is necessary to focus in the peoples, in the local cultures, mainly now in this globalized world. Also, the peoples, there's an important component of the agroecosystems. And the permanence of the people in the region is the vital importance for the sustainability of the systems. Because in Brazil, in the south of Brazil, and the Pampa is not different, has a lot of problem with the people result of the rural areas. Okay, in this context, and then Barona Foundation implanted a project, and the name is Sustainable Development of the Rincão do 28, and with this thing, the goals now, the growth and development of the Rincão do 28 region now, and the surrounding areas with support of the foundation. Here it has a map of Brazil, and then the Pampa bioma here in the half part of the Rio Grande do Sul state, and here is the APA of the Ibirapuitã, and the Mariana Foundation is inside of the Estância do 28 is here inside of the APA of the Ibirapuitã, and here the producer I will talk quickly now. Okay, the producers, the farms around of the Estância do 28. Here is the education pole with the farms is around of them. Bem, the focus is, I talked before, is the quality of life of these people involved. The project started in 2006, December 2006. These 15 years now. The methodology used was basically the participators, the farm defining the priority of the art. This is the base of the project. It's not the farming is take about what's the problems they have and this type of thing. It's not is inside to outside, not outside to inside the farms. The main things, this type of and then the first demand that was in 2006 was collected such electrical power hose support, or so the infrastructure support for the farmers there to permanence in these areas. And after that is okay, after the solution of the electrical power, the rules, and then is the technical support really through the universities of the extension works and also the other things. Here, some pictures. This is in 2006, when we started the project, collected data from the farms about the economic support to farm. This farm is changing. Normally they have complex the six production as a complete beef cattle production. Is the whole categories now because of the characteristics of the region and the probabilities. They produce heifers. It is no more to complete cycle. And here is a look of animals in this biome. With Yandu is a principal indicator of this type of biome, and the beef cattle present. And here is farms use handmade wool products. Here is another meeting with farms by a bottle, a nitrogen bottle for the use in seminal artificialization. And here is in 2019, before COVID situation or COVID pandemic, here is a planning for 2020 actions and the final of the year with when the farms put together and they commemorate the final of the year and the planning the next year. Okay, with the conclusion, the implication of the project, the success of the sustainable development of Rincão do 28 project is made with Mariana. No? In 2019, was recognized with a very good institution, and then it was certified for the Brazilian entity, Sebrae-Tech. Is now Mariana was recognized is they can take action with the Sebrae-Tech to help other farmers, not just sustainable, not just only the Rincão do 28 farmers. In this new phase, and the Mariana's moved from articulator between people organization to organization carry out projects of improving the regional production chains. Also, Mariana today can execute projects in other parts of the Alegrete, but also in other parts of the bioma Pampa, helping farmers, not only farmers, small farmers from beef cattle production, but also farmers dairy cattle, also some sheep systems and the other systems. Okay, I try to put together maximum in 5 minutes.
Thank you, Vicente. So now we'll go, Carine, if you're here, we can present the case of Campo de Cima da Serra in the south of Brazil as well.
I have to wait to share my screen, I think.
Okay, I try to put it out here.
Do you see it?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, now we can. So
Okay.
you have 5 minutes to present. Oh, you have 4 slides, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So hello everybody, I'm Carine Pachoud. I'm a researcher at the University of Grenoble in France, and I did my PhD at the University of Innsbruck in Austria and in Cirad in France. It was about collective action for the valorization of the Serrano cheese in the Campos de Cima da Serra in southern Brazil. So the Campos de Cima da Serra is a mountain region with a temperate climate. The ecosystem is made of plateaus of natural pastures, and the soils are shallow and the fertility is low. Livestock farming is the first economic activity of the region, and more than 90% of the farm are small-scale family farms. And cheese is often the first source of income for this family. The most common production system is an extensive mixed dairy beef livestock system with only few cows in the herd that are milked for the cheese production. In this presentation, I will make a brief history of the cheese production. So during the first century of Serrano cheese production, it was in the mid-18th century. The first farms were established in the region through land grants to Portuguese people from the crown. While cattle and leather were sold on the market, the cheese was produced by the worker for their own consumption. Then the immigration of Europeans during the 19th century allowed to develop a new market for the cheese and to increase the production. After that, from the middle of the 20th century, the family farming system developed due to the repeated partition of land between heirs and the nearly complete disappearance of non-family workforce. In addition, an important transition in the traditional agrarian system occurred, so it was the Green Revolution, and pasture management was introduced with artificial pastures to deal with a shortage of natural forage during winter. So these improvements during the Green Revolution allowed to increase the cheese production. Then in the 80s, we see the development of soya crops in the north and in the west of the region, which totally replaced the natural pastures. And then in the 90s, there was a development of vegetable gardening, for example, potatoes, broccoli, or cabbage. And usually the new planters of vegetable came from outside the region and rented the land from cattle breeders in the summer. So all these crops and vegetables led to a significant decline in natural pastures. So today the Serrano cheese production is mainly informal due to restrictive legislation on raw milk in Brazil. However, since the 2000, we see a progressive involvement of the local actors in a collective organization for the defense and valorization of the cheese, but also to improve the legal status of the cheese. And for example, they obtained in 2020 the protected designation of origin certification. But however, in this region, the extension agents are the leaders of collective action operating through a top-down model and with a low participation level of the producers in collective organization. So it is important to understand that the valorization of the Serrano cheese and the improvement of the legal status act as a central lever to protect natural pastures and to increase also their sustainability. But their use in cheese production as a main animal feed need to be defined explicitly in specifications, so that the producer use it as a main animal feed. For example, in Europe, we have many PDO cheese, which require a maximum of hay and pasture grazing in production. And most of them specify that minimum of 75% of the feed come from the producing region. Moreover, there is also a need to increase the consumers' awareness of these sustainability issues. And for some PDO cheese, the use of natural pasture, such as summer alpine pastures, allow for a greater valorization of the cheese. So it is, for example, the case for the Beaufort cheese in France. Thank you.
Thank you, Carine. Now we will have a presentation of the Lebanon case with Mabelle. Mabelle, as I see you here.
Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So, hello everyone. Today I'm going to be presenting some combined results of different studies that we've conducted at the American University of Beirut, but more specifically at the Environment and Sustainable Development Unit, which is a research and development center based at the university. The objective of this presentation or the findings of these studies are to show the relationship between rangeland management and the production of two traditional cheeses, specifically known as kishk and bari, which are prepared with goat milk. So kishk is a combination of bulgur, which is wheat, cracked wheat, and goat milk that is fermented, and then the mixture is sun-dried to obtain a fine powder that is used in cooking. And that is another traditional cheese also, which is prepared with raw goat milk, fermented for about 3 months in a clay jar, and it has a very pungent taste. Another objective is how do these like rangeland management and the production of these cheeses contribute to the sustainability one of another. And at the end, what is the role of women and youth in this sustainability, and how are they affected? Our case study is focusing on 2 regions of Lebanon, the West Bekaa and the Shuf, which are 2 regions that are adjacent and separated by the southern part of Mount Lebanon. These are 2 agricultural regions, and they are known for the production of goats and sheep. The main breeds are local Baladi goats, and for the sheep, it's the Awasi breed of sheep. You can see the kishak here, which is sun-dried, so it's produced mainly on individual levels, on household levels, and sometimes at the level of cooperative. And this is the ambaris in the clay jar, which is at the moment still being produced as on the household levels and very rarely on cooperative levels. So the main results, I'm gonna be brief as I have only 5 minutes. The main results show that the majority of farmers in both regions do not encourage their children to carry on animal husbandry, but they prefer that their children get an education and find a more interesting for them job in the city. Goat farming is perceived as a family business where each member of the family has a specific role. For example, the man or the husband is taking care of the herd, so he's the farmer. The wife processes the cheese and she helps her husband, and the kids usually help in taking care of the animals. Shepherds may face many problems related mainly to land access and to the lack of specific policies to rangeland. So we are seeing a lot of changes in these traditional systems where traditional grazing is shifting to sedentarism. The authentic kishak and ambaris production also relies on good quality of goat milk, which mainly graze on natural pastures. The assessment of the value chain of dairy products of goats in these 2 areas show that the enabling environment, we have the policies, regulations, and support play a very important role, and also the cooperative. So in our region, unfortunately, farmers tend not to be collected or to be gathered in cooperatives. For the conclusion, like the main conclusions that we can draw from these studies is that the dairy goat value chain in these 2 areas, the West Bekaa and the Shuf, is a unique socio-economic system which highly depends on rangeland. And this is why there is a need to manage rangelands in a sustainable way and to have specific policies aimed at managing rangelands. The value chain is also part of the locally resilient and adaptive livelihood strategy. So we have different families which depend on raising goats and making cheeses and specifically traditional products that we cannot find at the supermarket level. The value chain is also currently threatened, unfortunately, and it is like losing this value chain will also cause the loss of a whole cultural heritage and dairy processing. So the women, they are, we call them the keepers of the land. They promote and they teach their children these traditional methods of dairy processing. So if we lose this, we're going to be losing really a very important heritage in our area. And we need to promote the production and consumption of these 2 traditional products So consequently, this will help in contributing to the sustainability of rangelands and vice versa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mabelle.
I will stop sharing my screen.
We now have a presentation by Ibrahim Daoud about the Northwest East Coast Zone. Ibrahim, can you hear us? Could you share your screen?
Yes, good afternoon. Just I am trying now to share with you the presentation.
Good. If you cannot manage to share your screen,
Yeah, I am use a phone, so I can't. I don't know how I. Maybe Jean-François, you have you can share the screen, please.
Yes, yes, I put your presentation on the screen. Just a moment.
Yes, okay. Yes, thank you, Jean-François. I am Ibrahim Daoud. I am working in the Arab Center for studies in of arid zones and dry land. I will talk about the rangeland in the northwest coast of Egypt. As we can see, the northwest coast zone of Egypt is located in the northern part in the west with the border of Libya. And also we can make a conclusion for the main source of income and activities for the population in the region. We can say that the population they are consist of Awlad Ali, the Bedouin tribes, and the main source of income and the main activity of the population are the agricultural production and breeding of the livestock, especially sheep and goats.
I think we had a problem with Ibrahim's connection.
Source of drinking in the area is the cisterns. Next, please. Next, please. Then the general context of the northwest coast, as we mentioned, it is located in the northern and western part of Egypt with a total area of 1.25 million hectares. It is rainfed area. The average rainfall it is 140 millimeter. Rainfed agriculture it is cultivated in the bed of the wadis. We have about 200 wadis, and the main crops in these wadis it is figs and olives and almond and barley. And those cultivations it depend mainly about the rainfall, and it use the water harvesting techniques to collect the water to irrigate those cultivations. Also, the area it is very famous in the Mediterranean country. It is about 50% of the number of the species in Egypt, about 2,000 species. It is located in the area. The next, please. Here we can see from the map and this table, this is showing the land cover and the land use in the northwest coast of Egypt. As we can see, the agricultural lands, it is represent about 17% of the total area of the region. The rangeland represent about 35% of the total area, and the bare land approximately it is represent about 50% of the total area. The next, please. Here we will talk about the tribal structure of the northwest coast of Egypt. The area it is consists of 6 main tribes. It is Ali Abyad, Ali Ahmar, Jumayat, Qut'an, and Snena. Each main tribe it consists of a number of tribes. Each tribe consists of number of beds. Beds here it is mean number of families. In the early 20th century, the rangeland and the grazing was common and at the level of the region, where was no division of the land. After the division of the land, the rangeland and the grazing are common at the level of the tribe member only. So it is allowed to the tribe member to grazing in the land of the tribe, and it is not allowed to them to graze for the area of the other tribes. The southern area, it is still, to now, it is common pastoral, where there is no population until now. Next, please. We will talk about the role of the rangeland in the Bedouin society in the northwest coast of Egypt. Sheep and goats still, until to now, represent the main source of income for about 80% of the population in the area. Also, the rangeland provide fodder for the sheep and goats for a period for not less than 5 months in rainy season. This period can be decreased to 2-3 months in dry years or moderate years. The rangeland increase the value of the land in case of selling, comparing with the bare land. Also, the rangeland constituted of a source of livelihood for some people who interested to collect the medical plant species. Also, the rangeland is the first defense line for soil against degradation, especially wind and water erosion. This is from the concept of the land degradation. The rangeland prevent the movement of the sand to the urban and the agriculture areas, especially in the lands which characteristics-wise sandy with sandy texture. Also the rangeland it can prevent formation of the dust storms. Next, please. The challenges facing the rangeland in the northwest coast area, the main challenge is the drought waves that strike the region from time to time. Also, land degradation and consequent of loss of soil, which affects the growth of the pastures of the or the rangelands. Also, the urban expansion of at the expense of the rangelands. Again, the expansion of the agricultural land at the expense of the rangelands, and also increasing of the pastoral load as a result of increase of the number of sheep and goats, especially in the common rangelands in the south. Next, please. Next, please. The last slide, we will try to present what is the impact of the the degradation of the rangeland on the Bedouin society. As we mentioned, the drought is the main challenge that face the region and make degradation for the rangeland. And this impact, it is representative of migration of the population to the city, especially the young people, and the tendency of the population, especially young people to new occupations such as civil shops in the cities. Also, change of the large part of the rangelands to urban area lead the population to move to other jobs other than animal husbandry. The change in the Bedouin society cultures due to the migration to the cities, so they became from their cultures, they are near to the culture of the cities, the urban societies. Next, please. For the collective action of the Bedouin society to cope with rangeland degradation, here is we can mention just for points as example for the action, collective action of the Bedouin society to cope with this degradation of the rangeland. And most of the breeders in the drought years, they are give the fodder to feed the goats and the sheep in the dry periods. Again, they moving herds to the southern parts area, which is common rangeland, and there is a less number of livestock in this area. So maybe they can find more dense vegetation. They can use it for the grazing. And also transition from animal breeding to traders, and keeping it just for 3-4 months, just for fattening. This means the breeder, they will not keep the flock for 12 months, for 1 year. They just keep it for 3-4 months, just for fattening, and they will sell it, and they will buy again a flock and make fattening, especially for the lambs, and sell it and again. The last one is focusing on new source of income that didn't exist in the Bedouin society, such as the poultry activities. These activities, new activities, it was not famous on the Bedouin society, but due to the drought and the degradation of range land, the people now they used to work in these activities. Thank you for attention.
Thank you, Ibrahim. We are getting quite short on time, so maybe we can already go to the next presentation. I ask you again to try to keep your presentation on 5 minutes. I know it's really hard because 5 minutes doesn't give you a lot of time to present anything, but let's try to keep it within the 5 minutes. Jean-François?
Yes, I have shared my presentation. The presentation of people from the Pastoral Pact of the Cevennes. It's you have a landscape of the Cevennes during the winter with the snow, and it's not very green. And it is a co-construction of a legal regulation for maintenance of agro-pastoral landscape. You are in France, in the south of France. We have France, and the Cevennes is here, and the Cevennes is a part of the Massif Central. And we have just the pact, the Pastoral Pact it's a group of county we decided to join. And the base of the Pastoral Pact, it's first at least a local initiative, but the first is to have to maintain a common heritage at local scale. And it's a project of territory based on the pastoral landscape in order to maintain and sustain pastoralism. It's a negotiated right to shape the landscape as common. The implementation of the Pastoral Pact is maybe you make fence of the cottage with restrictions movement. The idea it's convince the owner of the cottage to open the fence and to find some common rules to to facilitate the movement of the herd. It's a negotiation also with all the other users, farmer, private and public institution, environmental NGO, and diverse tourism agency. And it's a lot strong to validate and to have the agreement of the local and regional governments, and also its implementation of specific governments. And you have all the process. I have no time to describe it. We have a lot of meeting with a farmer, with a different user, with a different institution to arrive to have a law, official law to maintain the. And we have here all the information about the pact, the pastoral pact of the Seven. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jean-François. I think now we have the presentation of Priya, Sambada, and Edi Osunu about the Merapi project in Indonesia. So if you can share your screen.
Okay, thank you very much, Marie. How are you? Jean-François and Pak Edi. So I would like to present our study in Merapi area. Okay. Yes. So if you already know, Merapi area is located in Indonesia, precisely in Jakarta area. And this mountain, Merapi, actually the most active volcano mountain in Indonesia and maybe in the world, because people believe that every 4 years this mountain will erupt, yeah, every 4 years. But I think now not only every 4 years, even more. Like we know that about 2-3 weeks ago, this mountain already erupted. And people in this area, they mostly dairy farmers and also beef cattle farmers, with only have about 1 until 3 cattle and have less than 1 hectare of land. And most of them, sorry, it's a bit. Okay, and most of them, they not cultivated the forage, but they collect forage from the surrounding area, mostly from natural grass. And only small of them, they have a small land to be cultivated with the Napier grass. In 2010, this is the big eruption of Merapi volcano mountain, and affected a lot on the economic activities in this area, including dairy sector, beef cattle sector, and etc. So most of the people affected because the volcano destroyed their house, their barn, yeah, etc. And then after that, we have done an ecosystem with the Merapi project in collaboration with the government and also the NGO, try to set up the new activities generating income, including dairy farms and also other activities. Try to provide other activities because some of them lost their income generating activities. So the first activities that they have is building a large common barn for up to 500 dairy cows. So everybody can goes to this farm together. They work with their own cattle. but the barn belongs to the project. The second one, they can access the credit, yeah, for to buy cows. Most of them, they only have about 4 cows. The credit provided by the project for cows. The third, the common fodder production in a field near the barn and providing energy or protein supplementation. But about 7.5 kilometers from the top of the Merapi volcano, they cannot access it, but some of them still try to get there to cultivate the like forage, like napier grass or etc. The fourth, they also have individual milking and dairy cattle caring, yeah, because they have their own 4 cows, but in the same area, in the same barn provided by the project. And the fifth, manure recovery for fertilizer and biogas production. They are not only the main product of the dairy cattle, but also they try to process the manure and also the gas to be biogas and to provide surrounded people to get the energy from this byproduct. 6, marketing integrated into the local dairy supply chains, yeah, and also with this new activities, they try to set up the new cooperative. The new cooperative exists after intervened by the project. Previously, only 3 cooperatives exist, milk cooperative exists in this area, but after the project exists, they try to set up the new cooperative with this, which is more inclusive and also more transparent to the members. The 7, diverse trainings and technical supports. Yeah, the farmers can get access to the technical activities, technical supports from the trainers and from the university, etc. So this main activity of the Merapi project is try to solve the problem about the stressful situation after the eruption, and they try to make new habits of common working to be learned and built, yeah, because the barn is a collective barn. They can work together with the other farmers, and the project also try to provide the credit to the new farmers. And of course, the Merapi project, after we learn from this project, we can say that this project effectively improved farmers' livelihood affected by the eruption, because previously they do not have, after the eruption, they do not have any income generating activities, but after we intervene with them, after Danon intervene with this project, the people and also the farmers can have the new income generating activities. The second, new milk value chain also exists after intervened by the project. As we know, until now, the new cooperative exists and can support the farmers surrounding area with the new transparent and more valuable activities. The third, to be more sustainable in the future, farmers needs more access to credit and technical aspect, because most of them, the people affected by the Merapi eruption, not only from the farmers, but also from other job they have, different job they have. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. We can now have the Kenyan and Tanzanian presentation by Kofi. Kofi, can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me, please? Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Good morning and evening, everyone. What I will try to do is to present in 5 minutes, I hope, some highlights points on the participatory rangeland management project that has been experienced in pilot phase in Kenya and Tanzania. I'm speaking here as a researcher for Cirad Stelmet, but I'm talking in my previous capacity as a person involved in the ILC activities in West African Sahel. And this presentation has been made from prior information gathered from Ken Otenyo from Reconcile in Kenya. And I hope that the next phase will be more, can say detailed, because we gathered very quickly something as Jean-François asked me to present something. And I think that the next phase will be more detailed. So what can I say as introductory remarks is that the piloting of this project was like a part of a broader regional project. And it has been implemented in Kenya by Concile and in Tanzania by TNRF. And part of the broader core team has been made by RBM, Réseau Militaire Marobe in West Africa. So the project is at its pilot phase, and we hope that with more fundings, they will, expand by learning by doing. We must also notice that implementing this project was part of, a global campaign leading to Global Landscape Forum and also the United Nations Food System Year and the International Year of Rangeland and Pastoralism. All those campaigns, are now widely known, and we are participating at our different capacity to bring pastoralism and rangeland on the top of the agenda. So, institutionally, I will quickly say that the project, in fact, did not create very new institutions. The approach is to use, existing scheme at community level in order to advance the rangeland management initiative. We have already, structure that exists, like, rangeland management, the granting committees, they exist in every countries, in Kenya and in Tanzania. The water users, association are there, and other community management structure. So the participatory rangeland management to recognize all those framework and just intervene through them in association. What can we say as the impact on the ecosystem restoration? In fact, what came out is that the restoration of marginal land that came from the implementation of the project impacted positively, you know, the natural conservation in the piloting areas. For instance, some constriction to catch and preserve spring water, for instance, has impacted the wide range of population, not only the pastoralists, but also other users like people growing vegetables, etc., etc. What the impact on conflict management? The approach adopted by ILC members of the two countries implementing that project positively also impacted the conflict management processes, because they adopted a conflict sensitive approach that permit to, you know, to see what negative impact they could that came out from the implementation and the, you know, in a preventive manner, they set up a set of measures to mitigate the occurrence of conflict. And what came out as practice that the Carine practice that have been, you know, been practiced for long, has been, you know, like standardized and used in several parts.
Kofi, can you manage to conclude in a minute?
Yeah. Yes, I'm already at the lesson length, so I have quite finished. Is that some pinpoint is the gender issue? You know, we talk about rangeland. It's like marginal lands. When they are now restored, the women are evicted from that land again. You know, normally they say the rangeland, they put women over there, but when a project comes to restore those lands, the women are also evicted afterwards. So we must pinpoint those points to be aware of all those negative impacts. And forward, we have those points to see and to see the risks, the emerging risks, and also to have a coordination issue fixed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have 3 more presentations. One about Ferlo and Senegal Valley by Tamzia. Tamzia, can you hear us? Can you share your screen?
Hello. I'm sharing the presentation.
Good. Perfect. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. I switch off my camera for connection facilities. First, thanking for associating the pastoralism and dryland cluster and all the structures that make up this scientific interest group on pastoralism like Cirad, UCAD, CSE, and ISRA. The topic is the geo-historical dynamics of common property rangeland in relation to the evolution of public policies in the Ferlo from the centralized state to 3 acts of decentralized. By way of introduction, it should be noted that Ferlo is indeed a vast transhumance region. It covers an area of 57,269 kilometers, which represents approximately 1/3 of Senegalese national territory. Hence, the strategy of transhumance in search of vital research for animals, with annual rainfall varying between 150 and 500 millimeters. The climate of the Ferlo is Sahelian. The ecosystems of the Ferlo provide natural resources more essential for pastoral economy. That's why strong pressures linked to aridity conditions to the strong spatio-temporal variability and human activities. Natural resource degradation processes are gaining ground at the expense of nature, reserve, and fragile ecosystem. Hence, the interests of the state since 1930 to set up public policies for the conservation of natural resources despite certain limitations. Before drought seasons, many tools like silvopastoral reserve, Ferlo South Reserve, and classified forest on the public domain since the late 1930 for preserving Sahelian savannas against agriculture expansion while developing sustainable economic sectors, livestock, non-timber food products around the concept of silvopastoral zone. Despite the drought of the 70s and the 80s and the failures of economic rationalization, like some program, so that this system continues with public development, like pastoral hydraulics, development of weekly markets. After drought season, the role and the function of this area is evolving with land use plans. The function of biodiversity conservation at the center of the development public policies of the zone silvopastoral in the 20s with the creation of the South Ferlo Biosphere Reserve and also the Great Green Wall program crossing the Ferlo from west to east. But it's important to note the exclusion of pastoralism from this major initiative for raising the question of the social viability of these new tools. However, as the pastoral units have shown, pastoralists are essential to land research governance policies to improve biodiversity in this area. The combination of all these elements has led the PPGZ to defend the idea that the governance of silvopastoralism through the commons approach allows for the preservation of biodiversity and even an increase in the ecosystem services that are essential to the survival of pastoral communities. But we have this idea with some questions on defining sustainable social and economic model for the governance of space and resources in the Ferlo in order to increase biodiversity based on participation and collective action. New territorial planning and governance solutions that integrate the environmental dimension based on current past experiences and tested with local population should be promoted for the benefit of vulnerable groups. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we can go to the next presentation. I think Peggy is going to present us the case of the special areas. Peggy, could you Can you hear us and can you share your screen? If not, maybe Jean-François, you can share your screen. I think you have the presentation of the special areas.
No, maybe Peggy is arriving.
Okay. I think she is.
Hello, everyone.
No.
The special area is a distinct municipality in Western Canada, east of the Rocky Mountains and north of the border with Montana in the US. The settlement in Western Canada is only 120 years old, much younger than many of the areas that you've described to me this morning. There was an assessment in the mid-1800s that deemed the area unsuitable for cultivation. However, in the early 1900s, ranchers saw good grass in the area and moved large cattle herds up from Texas. There was a very harsh winter in 06, 07, and many of the cattle herds were lost. In the 1920s, the weather cycle again had changed and looked favorable for cultivation, and farmers came from Eastern Canada and from Europe. The good growing conditions changed, however, in the 1930s, and there was also an economic depression for 10 years. Farmers defaulted on loans and taxes. Hundreds of people abandoned the area. Over 2.2 million acres of land was severely impacted environmentally, socially, and economically. So the provincial government of the day in Alberta passed what they called the Special Areas Act to create this special municipality to manage the land and set up a recovery process for the people that were still remaining in the area. The area is very sparsely populated. It makes up about 5 million acres right now. It has a very low tax base, of course, because of the low population, and makes providing services difficult. Extreme annual rainfall fluctuations result in great uncertainty in crop yields and forage production for livestock. Prices of agricultural commodities, of course, are very volatile. Input costs for fertilizer, crop protection products, farm machinery, fuel continue to rise very sharply. We're currently in a drought year with less than 127 millimeters of rain in most of the area. There is considerable pressure to convert the natural grassland to pulse and oilseed crops. Then the ranch and farm size is increasing. Many farms now are more than 4,000 hectares and greater than 400 head of cattle. There's continual challenges to the viability of the ranches. Cattle prices are volatile. The cost to provide a accountability to the consumers is adding cost to the ranchers' bottom line. We have a considerable lack of skilled labor. The security of tenure in this area is uncertain. Much of the area, about half the area, is leased land by the government. We do have legislation in the special areas to protect some of the natural grassland that's in the leased land. But again, there's considerable pressure from the farmers to convert to cropland. However, in spite of everything, there is still a strong sense of community, a spirit of cooperation, and a pride in self-reliance. Residents do see the area as special, with the natural beauty in the natural grasslands and its wildlife. There's a uniqueness to the area in the mosaic of crop and natural grasslands. Farmers and ranchers continue to innovate. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now end with the last presentation of the Carine Mountain in the Tibetan Plateau. I don't know who's in charge of presenting this one.
Yes, I will present. I will present for people, colleague from China. Just a minute, I share my presentation. It's fine for you?
Yes.
Yes. The title is Public Policy in Chilean Mountain in Tibetan Plateau, China. What about along the last decade? We are in China here. We have the Tibetan Plateau. We hold the country around the Tibetan Plateau, and the Tibetan Plateau is in the center. The most is it's a major river basin, the beginning of the major river basin for all the Asia. And the main challenges of this public policy is a sustainable rangeland management and control of soil erosion due to the overgrazing and pasture degradation with several downstream consequences, and also the improvement of breeders' livelihood and work condition. And just the breeding system is based on transshumance. We have the plain. The plain is around 2,500 meters, and where we have the winter and spring pasture. During the summer, the herd are going to 3,500 meters of altitude, and autumn they are going to the mid altitude around 300 meters and come back in the winter in the lowest land. But the problem is the land in the pasture is possible to grow just 3-4 months, 4 years. And the history of this area is the first, until the first 1950. It's a land access bargaining between breeders and monastery who are owning the rangeland. In the Chinese Revolution and the Cultural Revolution, with land and air are directly owned by the community, and in a few decades arrive a serious pasture degradation and soil erosion to the overgrazing with severe downstream consequences. And the implementation of this set of policy, it was a household contract responsibility system. It's for all the household, based on a set of policies dedicated to herders' livelihood and rangeland management. And the first is in terms of action, it was an adapted stocking rate to the pasture potential. It was an allocation of land use, just land use, not land worship, just land use for winter and sometime for summer pastures. And a subsidy for pastures and herd management, including equipment and infrastructure like fence, greenhouse, barn, feed, etc. And also very interesting specific governance between the manager of the village and the leader. The manager, who has a public institution, and the leader of the village. Or just to share with you some picture. It's a sheep herd in the summer pasture with a tent during the transhumance, and in the lowland during the sheep herd in the winter pastures. And all the animal need supplementation during the winter. It's with hay we are produced during the summer. And you have an example of new livelihood in the summer pasture during the transhumance. We have the old house and the new house. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. In the last minutes, we'll have a short synthesis of the presentation. I think, Carine, if you're still here, you can start. If you're not, then we go.
Yes, of course. So thank you. This was really interesting. We saw a lot of case studies, very different, but at the same time, we saw that they share many similarities. So first, rangelands are most often located in harsh environments, so for example, in mountains, and they are central for the livelihoods of family farmers and also for the cultural futures of this population. They have also important ecological function. So for example, they offer high biodiversity, water regulation, protection against soil degradation, maintain traditional landscapes. So I think that for all these reasons, we should consider the rangeland as a commons. Also, we saw that local products are important to increase the sustainability of rangelands, and also that rangelands are important to increase the sustainability of local products. Moreover, we saw that there are many threats threatening the rangelands, such as ecological threats or droughts, and we expect to see more and more droughts in the future, but also socio-economical threats like agribusiness, urban expansion, or also gender issues. And for all these reasons, we need policies, special policies that are often lacking, unfortunately, to increase sustainability of rangelands and also to promote livestock family farming system. And all these policies, I think, that have to be co-constructed with local actors to be able to respond to the local challenges. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Mabelle, would you like to add a few words as well to conclude? Then we'll hear Mariana Mezzomo.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. So thank you for everyone for your interesting presentation. And just to add to what Carine mentioned, in addition to the high need for land use and management policies that are specific to rangelands, there's also, like, in order to establish these policies, it is very essential to follow up a bottom-up approach and participatory approaches to make sure that the herders and the land users are heard, and that these policies meet their demands and are validated by farmers, by all the stakeholders who are using rangeland. Another point also that is obvious, that these different case studies or that we saw today can be categorized, like these actions can be categorized into mainly three types. The first one is local initiatives based on local heritage and culture, such as the case of Lebanon, in Brazil, like the Mariana Foundation, and also the Serrano cheese, where these actions are being conducted by local NGOs, research and academic centers. The other type is where these policies or these actions are a joint action between the government and the community, such as the case of Indonesia and Egypt, and also the case of, or the category of public policies or public political actions by the government, such as the case of China. Again, thank you. It was really nice to see some familiar faces of all the colleagues and friends. And I hope that we will stay in touch also to build up on this session for our next workshop and conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mabelle. We can now hear Mariana Mezzomo. Would you like to add a few words as well?
Hi, thank you all for your presentations. I think it was very productive, and we all learned a lot about the different contexts of the different rangelands areas. So I think we have good examples of collective actions like Mariana and Murapi project, and that give us good results. And also we were able to see that we need to have better public policy specific public policies to help the systems and to look for the young people to keep them in the rangeland areas. And also we need to work with the consumers to help them to understand the importance of the traditional products that are developed in these areas. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now to conclude in the last minute we have, we will send you a brief survey about this event and your point of view on agricultural succession. Family farming must be supported, as Carine mentioned, and generational succession is a key point on this issue. It will only take a few seconds to answer, and it would help us a lot if you could answer it. So the result will be discussed during the International Rangeland Congress in October, and we already look forward to see you there. So I think we are right on time. Thank you all very much for your participation, and we look forward to see you again in the next event, maybe.
Thank you very much, Marie. Yes, I am. The session was recording, and I send you the link to download the recording. Thank you very much. And as Marie said, we will contact you in the next days, week, to prepare the next session during the International Rangeland Congress at the end of October. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend, and thank you for the coordination, Marie, Carine, Mabelle, and Mariana, and for all the presentation. See you next time.
Thank you.